We begin our look at sports at the big ballpark in the Bronx, where it's one hell of a time to be a Yankee fan because of this weekend's series win over the Tampa Bay Rays, punctuated by Sunday's 13-5 thumping by the Bronx Bombers. The Pinstripers are now in first place in the American League East. They're also in prime position to stay there for quite some time, thanks in large part to what they have ahead of them schedule-wise. Behold the Bombers' upcoming schedule. They go to Baltimore, then Kansas City, then come back home to face San Diego. That's 7 games against teams that already have a combined 60 losses, finishing up with 3 at home against a club that finished Sunday a game under 500. Bob, did you see that homer, that newest Yankee signing, Kendrys Morales, hit the other day? What a bomb into the upper deck. A big home run yesterday, too, by Aaron Hicks. Yanks are trending north. The Mets are going south, like both literally and figuratively. They somehow managed to lose to the T-ball team known as the Miami Marlins Sunday in South Florida. The Amazons have been anything but. They haven't been hitting, and another lapse by slugger Robinson Cano raised questions about how hard they are actually trying, none of which helps the shaky job security of manager Mickey Callaway. The lowly Marlins beat the reeling Mets 3-0 Sunday to complete a 3-game sweep. The Marlins have only 13 wins on the season. A day after being shut out on 1 hit, the Mets dropped their 5th in a row. For the second time in 3 games, Cano failed to run hard after hitting a ground ball. The latest unsightly defeat against a team with the worst record in the majors is sure to intensify speculation about Callaway's status. The Mets are 20-25 and now have their longest losing streak of the year to boot. Time for some quick hitters. Sunday at Bethpage proved more dramatic than anyone thought it would be, but it ended as expected with Brooks Koepka once again hoisting the Wanamaker Trophy held off the charging Dustin Johnson, won the PGA title, and supplanted DJ as world #1. This is Koepka's 4th major victory and 2nd PGA championship. He is the 5th player in tournament history to win going wire to wire, and the first since Hal Sutton in 1983. He is only the 2nd player to successfully defend at the PGA championship in the stroke play era since 1958, joining Tiger Woods, who did it in 1999, 2000, and then in 2006-07. He's the first player in history to own back-to-back victories in 2 different majors, the PGA championship and the U.S. Open, simultaneously. Koepka has now won 3 of the last 5 majors, 4 of the last 9 overall, and 4 of the last 8 in which he's completed. Don't count out the Toronto Raptors just yet, folks. On Sunday, Kawhi Leonard and his bench mob outlasted Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks in Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals, 118-112 in double overtime. Finally back home, Toronto showed up in a big way, and in exactly the way they've been needing to in Games 1 and 2. The Raptors were led by none other than Leonard, who had 36 points and dominated at the free throw line, going 12 of 13. Toronto's best player also had 9 rebounds and 5 assists. Bucks still lead that series 2-1. Out west, the Kevin Durant-less Golden State Warriors have a commanding 3-0 series lead. The Warriors can close out the series tonight when they will go for the sweep of the Portland Trailblazers in Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals. Tip-off is at 9 p.m. Even without Durant, the Warriors have won all 3 games of this series and only one of them by single digits. A win tonight puts the Warriors in the NBA Finals for the 5th year in a row, a feat last achieved by Red Auerbach's Boston Celtics in the 1960s. No team has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit, and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson have been way too much for Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum so far. Because of that, Golden State is a 3.5-point favorite in the latest Warriors versus Blazers odds. Lillard does not want to use his separated rib as an excuse for his struggles in the Western Conference final, but clearly he's not the same player. Lillard confirmed on Sunday that he suffered the injury to his left side during a scramble for a loose ball during the 3rd quarter of Game 2. However, Lillard downplayed the impact of the injury on his performance in the series. Saturday in Baltimore, vindication in the sport of horse racing following the controversy-marred Kentucky Derby. War of Will, one of the horses affected in the cramped-up finish at the Derby, wanted to show what he could do. That chance came Saturday in the 144th running of the Preakness Stakes, in which War of Will surged with steady determination to a victory in a 13-entrant field that was low on proven contenders. War of Will's nearly clipped heels with the veering maximum security just ahead of the Kentucky Derby slop at the end. War of Will crossed the finish line at Pimlico Race Course at 1 1/4 lengths ahead of Everfast to win the Preakness. Saturday's race marked the first time in 23 years that the Kentucky Derby winner didn't contest the middle jewel of the Triple Crown, stripping the Preakness of its most compelling storyline. Would it produce a Triple Crown contender heading into June's Belmont Stakes? Country House was installed as the Derby winner when stewards disqualified first-place finisher Maximum Security after concluding in a 22-minute review of the mud-slopped mayhem that the horse had interfered in his charge to the front. The Belmont Stakes, of course, is next. That's Saturday, June 8th. Speaking of horsepower, the Indianapolis 500 goes down this Sunday, and it won't include Fernando Alonso. I'm beyond shocked, folks. Alonso failed to qualify for the Indy 500 after a humiliating return to the USA's biggest race for the McLaren team. The two-time Formula One champion was fourth fastest of 6 drivers vying for the final 3 places on the grid on what is known as Bump Day. Alonso's 227.353 miles per hour 4-lap average was edged by American Kyle Kaiser by just 0.019 miles per hour with the last run. It is a bitter blow for Alonso, who left F1 to focus on winning Indy and the Triple Crown of motorsport. That looks like it will have to wait until next year. Pole was taken by Frenchman Simon Pagenaud, his first at Indy, driving for the Penske team ahead of Americans Ed Carpenter and Spencer Pidgeot. The race, 500 miles and over 200 laps, is this Sunday. Our Bronx State cameras will return to Indy. I'll be rooting for my boy Alexander Rossi. Although I was almost certain this would be Alonso's year, I guess I didn't factor in that you'd have to qualify first. In football, the Giants begin OTAs today. First opportunity to get on the field with full squad and practice with offense versus defense. Also likely the first time we hear from quarterback Eli Manning since the drafting of Daniel Jones. In boxing, Deontay Wilder retained the title Saturday night with a first-round knockout. And retaining his title for the 9th consecutive time, Wilder tied Muhammad Ali during his first title reign, Joe Frazier, Mike Tyson in his first reign, and Lennox Lewis and his second reign on the all-time heavyweight list. The all-time record for any division is 25 by Joe Louis. And on a final sports roundup note, congrats go out to Tim Tebow on his first AAA dinger. What started off as a tough spring for Tebow with the Mets AAA affiliate in Syracuse took a turn for the better Sunday when he hit his first International League home run. It came in his 105th at-bat of the season. Maybe the Mets should bring him up. They could use all the help that they can get. Those are the headlines. We hit the C-list for the help Alonso will need to win the Indianapolis 500. At best, it was disappointing. At worst, it was an embarrassment. By the slimmest of margins, Fernando Alonso missed making the field of 33 cars for the 103rd running of the Indianapolis 500 scheduled for Sunday. Kyle Kaiser posted a 4-lap average of 227.372 miles per hour, while Alonso's was at 227.353, a difference, again, as we mentioned, of just 0.019 miles per hour. As I mentioned earlier, it was the difference between the 33rd and the 34th place cars as part of the last row shootout. Kaiser was in. Alonso, of course, is out. The lesson for Team McLaren: racing can be cold, folks. Alonso has been seeking the racing triple crown of at least one F1 championship. He has 2 on his resume, the 24 Hours of Le Mans and the Indy 500. Now that will have to wait. There were signs along the way that the car setup was not perfect as part of practice for the last row shootout on Bump Day. Sparks were flying off Alonso's Chevy-powered McLaren. So with missing the field, the fact that McLaren was coming to IMS for the first time as a full effort, and other factors from Alonso's F1 past that kept McLaren with just a single engine manufacturer option. The reports that McLaren has explored buying an existing IndyCar team is not only going to keep that conversation going, it's likely to accelerate it. Alonso was sitting on the second row in 5th position for the start of the 2017 Indy 500 for Andretti McLaren with a speed of 231.300. He ran a solid race, having led on 4 different occasions before his Honda engine gave way, ultimately landing him with the 24th position. He was there, though. Ultimately, McLaren needs to gain experience. I say buy in 2020 and gear up for the Indy 500. That will give Alonso his best chance to complete the coveted Triple Crown. That's your sports. I'm Bobby C.